Hey Kellybrook Elementary third graders, my name is Lindsay Anderson and I'm a meteorologist at 41 Action News. I was supposed to come to your classroom last week, but obviously with things a little different right now, I'm coming to you virtually. I hope you guys are all doing well, staying safe. Your teachers asked that I would help put some information behind your next project at home, and I, of course, was happy to do so. As a meteorologist, I study the weather. I talk about the weather every morning on TV on 41 Action News. So this has to do with weather events, severe weather, and how to stay safe from it. We have several tools at our disposal, architecture, building, structures, that will keep us safe. So I'm hoping to dive through a few of those for you to help put context behind your next school project. And as broadcast meteorologists, our job, of course, is to keep you all and our community safe through severe weather events. And we have a few that I'm going to go through. I'm going to go through 4 of them today. Severe thunderstorms in general, flash flooding, tornadoes, and hurricanes. Hurricanes we don't get much of here in Kansas and Missouri, but it definitely affects many people along the coastline, so we'll still talk about those. All right, let's dive in, guys. So I made a PowerPoint for you, weather events and safety. We're going to dive into how different structures and buildings or types of tools can keep us safe in severe weather events. So first off, severe thunderstorms are considered severe when there's hail that's larger than a quarter, wind gusts stronger than 58 miles per hour, and potential rotation in a storm. At that point, if it is a tornado, they would issue a tornado warning. But severe thunderstorms have to have hail and strong wind. So where do you need to go to be safe from a severe thunderstorm? We have to find shelter. We have to go inside. You know that phrase, when thunder roars, go indoors? This plays perfectly here. So you want to go inside. You want to find the nearest sturdy shelter. That means away from water, an open field, and metal, like a fence. This is why if you're at a soccer game, baseball practice, thunder roars, they usually cancel the game, cancel the practice, and you have to either go in your car or find that nearest clubhouse or pool house to be safe. So that's really important here also with a severe thunderstorm. Now, believe it or not, cars and airplanes actually protect us from thunderstorms, from lightning. The metal around us in a car and airplane is a great insulator for lightning. So it's actually a very safe place to be in thunderstorms. Next up, we're going to talk about tornadoes. And tornadoes can cause a lot of destruction, and I know the word is a little scary, but hopefully this information will help ease your nerves about severe weather and tornadoes, and just know that safety is utmost important here, and you'll know exactly what to do if we're in a tornado warning. So the greatest threats with a tornado is the high wind that's contained in that spinning motion and debris that is lifted up into the air that tornado breaks apart. That could be trees, tree limbs, glass, parts of houses or cars, things like that. So that can be very dangerous if you're outside. The wind in a tornado can be between 65 and up to 200 plus miles per hour. That's a really strong tornado. And how the meteorologists know how strong a tornado is from the National Weather Service. They go out after a tornado moves through a city or a town, and they'll survey the damage left by the tornado to determine its strength based on the wind and the damage that they see. So let's go through an example here. On your right screen is a graph, and you'll see that we have an EF2 rated storm. Let's pretend that we have an EF2 tornado. That means the wind got up to 111 and 135 miles per hour. So this is the damage that you would see in an EF2 storm. It's considered considerable. Roofs torn off well-constructed homes, homes shifted off their foundation, mobile homes completely destroyed, large trees snapped or uprooted, and cars can be tossed. That's all possible with these winds at 111 and 135 miles per hour. So that's an example of how they like to rate those tornadoes. So the safest place to be if you are in a tornado warning is a storm shelter. Storm shelters aren't found in a lot of places, but if you're lucky enough to have one, that's a perfect spot to be. Storm shelters are usually could be in the basement, could be in the lowest level of the floor of your home. There are some that are built for under the bed, in the closets, under a stairwell, things like that. And actually, we see a lot of storm shelters in areas like Texas and Oklahoma where they can't build underground, so they don't have basements. So storm shelters are way more common in states like those. Here in Kansas and Missouri, we do find a lot of folks with basements, so that would be, of course, another perfect spot to be, which happens to be the lowest level of your house. You also want to be in the most interior room, the most center part of your house. So if you do not have a basement, you want to find the most interior room, which would include under the stairwell or in a bathroom. But you have to make sure that that room does not have any windows around you. So that's very, very important. Let's explain why. Okay, here we have damage from a tornado in Laurel, Mississippi, which was a couple weeks ago. And what do we see in this picture? No roof, right? That's the sky. So the roof was ripped off immediately with this tornado, which is why we say, do not be upstairs in a tornado warning. You want to go to that lowest level. Wow, we still see a cake standing here on the island. That wasn't even touched. We still see cups in the cupboard, but the glass is all shattered from that cupboard. It looks like this window is completely shattered as well, which is why we need to stay away from windows. But it's pretty amazing to see that some things can be completely destroyed while others are left untouched. Now here's a really touching picture. This is just devastating, heartbroken seeing this. What do we notice? There is a storm shelter right here in the middle. You can see it's covered in cement, and this is exactly where the woman was as a tornado moved through. This is in Mississippi as well during the same tornadic stretch that was resulted in last pictures. But she was inside this tornado shelter along with her dog, and she came outside and saw this. So she obviously was in a very safe place when that tornado rolled through. That saved her life because nothing else is around her. Just devastating, heartbreaking, scary, but that she did exactly what she needed to do to save her life. So storm shelters are crucial in severe weather events with tornadoes because it keeps you protected and safe from the wind and the debris that tornadoes cause. Now let's move on to the next event, flash flooding. This is a quick rise in rivers, streams, and creeks that causes water to go over the banks. This can be caused by heavy thunderstorms that move over the same area time and time again. This can also be caused by hurricanes or tropical storms, and even snowmelt that's flowing over frozen land and ice sheets because the water has nowhere to go. It's not seeping in the ground is too frozen, so the water is just overflowing its banks. Think about this, guys. When you fill up your cup of water in the sink and you're filling it up, what happens if you overfill the cup? It's going to flow over the edge of your cup, right? The water is going to come out into the sink. So that's what's happening with flash flooding. It's going over the top of the cup, over the banks, and that's going to cause some issues for those that are just off or outside of the banks of a river, stream, or creek. So here's an example. This is what happened along the Missouri River last winter. And this photo was taken by a 41 Action News journalist, reporter, and you can see that the water has totally overflown over top of the bank into the stairwell that probably led to a nice path along the Missouri River. That is no longer there. So that is what flash flooding does. So safe places to go and be is go to higher ground. You also do not want to drive through any flooded roads or any areas that you can't see the bottom of it because you can't tell how deep that water may be. So how do we stop flash flooding from occurring? Well, you need to place a barrier between you and the rising water, which would include a levee, a wall, or a pile of sandbags. So here's an example of a levee. We have what looks like a road, but it's pretty much a wall that divides this Missouri River that's overflown its banks, and it's stopping this water from going into this part of the farmland. So this is a levee. We also have some creation of a wall here that's going to help block any of this flooding rain or flooding water to go into this farmland. So that's a wall. The taller it goes, the less likely it is to flood. Also, a pile of sandbags works great. This picture of the Army Corps of Engineers has a pile of sandbags making a tall structure so that this area of water does not overflow this hill that could impact businesses and citizens that may live on this part of the wall. So those are tools to help flash flooding. Now, what about hurricanes? Now, as I mentioned at the top of this lesson, we don't really get a lot of impacts from hurricanes. We might have some wind, we might get some rain, but the big issues and the destruction usually happens closer to the coast, closer to the oceans. Now, the hurricane is a powerful storm that comes from the ocean, and it contains a lot of rain, wind, and seawater. And eventually, that all comes onto the land. So these cause the most destruction to a large area. Usually a tornado is a very confined region that may have the biggest destruction through a town, a neighborhood, or a city. Meanwhile, a hurricane can destroy multiple states and cities along the coast, so it's really scary to be in one of these. The threats from a hurricane include storm surge, which is water pushing on shore from the ocean because the wind is so strong in a hurricane that the water's forced on land. That would cause flash flooding, and of course we have hurricane or tropical storm-forced winds that are wrapped inside that hurricane. So we have 5 different categories of hurricanes here based on wind speed, not wind gusts. This is wind speed, which means it's sustained at that same speed for multiple minutes at a time. We also can classify categories of hurricanes by storm surge. So how much feet, how high that storm surge or wave of ocean water comes on shore. So ways that we can survive and get through a hurricane, especially living on the coast. It's important to just leave home. Leave the city before the hurricane hits. Luckily, there's plenty of lead time that we're tracking hurricanes, so they have enough planning time to get out and find a safer place to be. They shutter up homes usually to protect their windows and the structure. When you shutter up the homes, it keeps the pressure pretty neutralized and keeps the damage at a minimum, usually, especially with the lower strength hurricanes. You'll also notice along the coastline that homes are usually built on stilts. Much like this picture here, they're higher up off the ground, which would end up away from a lot of the storm surge and flash flooding. And there's also seawalls that cities build that may be far away or from architecture. Look at this city that's really close to the water. Well, that would help mitigate or stop that storm surge from impacting a lot of those businesses, building a big wall, right, to stop the flooding and storm surge. So I hope you learned a little bit about some big severe weather events that meteorologists track all the time. We have severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, flash flooding, and hurricanes. And there's so many things at our disposal, buildings, architecture, structures that keep us safe in these events. Because remember, Mother Nature just doesn't slow down, right? It's hard to stop Mother Nature. You can't stop Mother Nature. The storms is coming no matter what. So we just have to do all the things at our disposal to keep ourselves safe. So luckily there's a lot of tools to keep us safe in severe weather events like tornadoes or hurricanes and flash flooding. So now your teachers are going to take it away from here. I cannot wait to see what you make with this project. Please send them my way. I would love to see what you create, what you make. Again, my name is Lindsay Anderson, a meteorologist at 41 Action News. Good luck and have fun. Hopefully I can see you next year at school.